Hi everyone. I wasn't going to make this video, but I can't stop thinking about what I'm picking up on right now, and I need to share it with you immediately. What I'm about to tell you might bring tears to your eyes. Not because it's sad, but because you're finally going to hear something you've needed to hear for so long. Something true, something real, something that might crack open the armor you've been wearing around your heart. Welcome back. It's Anna. And try not to cry. Because the news I have for you today isn't about the future. It's about right now. About what's already true. About something so beautiful that's already present in your life that you might not be fully seeing yet. Let me tell you what's making my chest tight as I'm tuning into this. You may notice you've been carrying something heavy for a very long time. A belief about yourself. A story about what you deserve. A conviction that you're somehow not enough, not worthy, not deserving of the kind of love or success or peace that other people seem to have. And what I'm picking up on right now, what's making me emotional as I say this, is that belief. It's not true. It never was true. And somewhere deep inside you, you're starting to know that. Some people experience this realization as a slow dawning, like light gradually filling a dark room. You're not quite ready to say it out loud yet, but you can feel it. Feel the old story losing its grip on you. It can feel like you're going through your day, maybe making coffee or sitting in traffic or lying in bed at night is less than #0. 5 is greater than. And suddenly you catch yourself thinking differently, speaking to yourself more gently, believing something kinder about who you are. Let's pause for a moment because this feels so important. I need you to really sit with it. This reflection invites you to consider, what if everything you've been told about your limitations was wrong? What if the smallness you've been living in isn't your truth but someone else's fear projected onto you? You may notice lately that you're seeing evidence, real evidence, of your own worthiness, of your own strength, of your own beauty, not future evidence, but present moment proof that's been there all along, but you're finally allowing yourself to see it. Maybe someone said something to you recently that actually landed, a compliment you didn't immediately deflect, an acknowledgement you allowed yourself to receive, a moment where you looked at your own work or your own choices or your own growth and thought, actually, that's pretty incredible. That shift, that willingness to see yourself truthfully, that's the jaw-dropping news. That you're finally breaking free from the prison of your own negative self-perception. In some situations, we spend years waiting for external validation to tell us we matter. We wait for the promotion or the relationship or the recognition to prove we're worthy. But what's happening for you right now is different. You're starting to know your worth without needing anyone else to confirm it. Hold on. I need to slow down because I'm getting emotional just feeling into this energy. There's something about your current state that carries this quality of homecoming. Like you're finally arriving at a truth about yourself that's always been there. Like you're finally seeing yourself the way you were meant to be seen. It's possible you spent your whole life believing you were broken, that something fundamental about you was wrong or damaged or unlovable, and you've been trying so hard to fix it, to improve it, to become someone different so you could finally be acceptable. But what's breaking open right now, what might make you cry when you fully let it in, is the realization that you were never broken. You were just convinced you were. You were just taught to see yourself through eyes that didn't know how to see your light. Some people experience this as a grief, a mourning for all the years they spent believing the lies, all the opportunities they didn't take because they thought they weren't worthy, all the love they pushed away because they didn't think they deserved it. And if you're feeling that grief right now, that's okay. That's part of the breaking open. Cry if you need to cry, Let yourself feel the weight of what you've been carrying and what you're finally ready to put down. This reflection invites you to consider, how much energy have you spent trying to prove your worthiness instead of simply being worthy? You may notice there's someone in your life right now who sees you clearly, who's been trying to reflect back to you your own beauty, your own value, your own magnificence, and you've been dismissing them, thinking they're just being nice, or they don't really know you, or they're seeing something that isn't real. But what if they're seeing what's actually there? What if their vision of you is more accurate than your own? It can feel like looking in a mirror and finally, for the first time, seeing what's actually reflected instead of the distorted image you've been trained to see. And that recognition, that moment of seeing yourself truly, it's overwhelming. Try not to cry, but also maybe let yourself cry, because this matters. This shift in how you see yourself, this is everything. Let me talk about what might be happening in your experience right now around forgiveness. It's possible you're currently in a process of forgiving yourself, not for anything you actually did wrong, but for believing you were wrong, for treating yourself with such harshness, for denying yourself compassion and gentleness and grace. Some people experience this as looking back at their younger self and feeling such tenderness, such protection, such fierce love for that person who was doing their best with what they had. You may notice you're speaking to yourself differently lately. The voice in your head is softer, less critical, less cruel. And when the old harsh voice tries to come back, you're catching it faster. You're questioning it. You're not just accepting it as truth anymore. This reflection invites you to consider what would change if you spoke to yourself the way you speak to someone you deeply love. There's something I keep sensing about your current experience that feels like is less than #0. 5 hashes greater than relief, like you've been holding your breath for years and you're finally exhaling. It's possible you're discovering right now that you don't have to be perfect to be lovable. You don't have to achieve more to matter. You don't have to fix everything about yourself to deserve peace. Some people experience this as a radical permission. Permission to be human, permission to be messy, permission to be in process, permission to not have it all figured out. And that permission, that's changing everything about how you move through your days. It can feel like you're making the same mistakes you always made, but responding to them completely differently. Instead of spiraling into shame, you're just acknowledging it, learning from it, moving forward without carrying it like a life sentence. That compassion you're showing yourself, that's the jaw-dropping news. That you're finally treating yourself like someone worthy of kindness. Let me slow down for a second, because I want to talk about something that might make you emotional. There's a moment that many people experience when they're in this process of coming home to themselves. A moment where they realize how much they've survived, how much they've endured, how strong they actually are. It's possible you're in that moment right now. You're looking back at everything you've been through, everything you've carried, everything you've overcome, and you're finally seeing it, really seeing it, not minimizing it, not comparing it to others, not dismissing it as not that bad, just seeing it, honoring it, acknowledging that yes, that was hard and you did it anyway. Some people experience this recognition as overwhelming. They've been so focused on just surviving that they haven't stopped to acknowledge how remarkable it is that they're still here, still trying, still hoping, still believing that better is possible. This reflection invites you to consider, what would it mean to truly honor your own resilience? You may notice you're currently less interested in performing strength and more interested in actually being strong, which sometimes means being vulnerable, being honest, being willing to admit when you're struggling. In some situations, real strength looks like asking for help, like setting boundaries, like walking away from what's hurting you even when everyone else thinks you should stay. And you're doing that now. You're making choices that honor yourself even when they're hard, even when they disappoint others, even when they don't make sense to anyone but you. That courage, that's the news, that you're finally choosing yourself. There's something about your current state that suggests you're seeing beauty in places you couldn't see it before. It's possible you're looking at your life right now, the same life you were looking at last month, but you're seeing it differently. You're noticing small moments of grace, small kindnesses, small evidences that you're actually doing okay. Some people experience this as gratitude surfacing unexpectedly. You're washing dishes and suddenly you're grateful for the warm water. You're walking outside and suddenly you're grateful for your body that carries you. You're thinking about someone you love and suddenly you're grateful that you're capable of love. It can feel like the world hasn't changed, but your eyes have. Like you've been wearing glasses that distorted everything and you finally took them off. This reflection invites you to consider what beauty is present in your life right now that you've been too busy to notice. You may notice you're crying more easily lately, not always from sadness, sometimes from relief, sometimes from recognition, sometimes from finally letting yourself feel what you've been holding back for so long. Those tears, they're not weakness. They're evidence that you're letting yourself be human, that you're breaking open, that you're healing. Let me talk about what might be present in your relationships right now. It's possible you're experiencing a shift in how you allow yourself to be loved. You're letting people in a little more, accepting care without immediately trying to reciprocate, receiving compliments without deflecting. Some people experience this as scary because when you let people see you, really see you, there's a vulnerability in that, a risk, but there's also a freedom, a relief in not having to perform or pretend or hide. You may notice someone in your current life is offering you exactly what you need, not what you think you should need, not what would look good from the outside, but what would actually nourish your soul. And for the first time, you're considering saying yes. This reflection invites you to consider, what are you currently ready to receive that you weren't ready for before? There's something I keep coming back to about worthiness. It's possible the jaw-dropping news isn't about something you need to achieve or become. It's about what's already true. You are worthy right now, in this moment, exactly as you are. Not because of what you've accomplished, not because of how you look, not because of who loves you or who needs you or what you contribute, just because you exist, just because you're here, just because you're a human being who deserves compassion and kindness and grace. Some people wait their whole lives to hear that message from someone else. But what if you could give it to yourself? What if you could be the one who finally says, you are enough? Try not to cry. But that's the news. You are enough. You always have been. And you're finally starting to believe it. You remain in complete control of your choices here. You can reject this message. You can tell yourself it doesn't apply to you. You can keep believing you're not worthy. Or you can let it in. You can let yourself cry. You can let this truth crack open the armor you've been wearing. You can let yourself be seen, loved, held exactly as you are. The power is yours. It always has been. Take what resonates from this. Leave what doesn't. Trust your inner knowing about what's true for you. Before we close, I want to ask you something. What's one thing you're finally ready to believe about yourself that you couldn't believe before? Drop it in the comments if you feel called to share. And here's another question. When was the last time you truly saw yourself with compassion, with kindness, with the same grace you offer others? What would change if you let yourself be fully seen and fully loved exactly as you are right now? Try not to cry is less than #0. 5# is greater than. But the jaw-dropping news is this. You are so much more than you've been allowing yourself to believe. You are so much stronger than you give yourself credit for. You are so much more deserving than you've been taught. And you're finally starting to see it. That's real. That's happening. That's your current truth. Not someday, today. Trust yourself with this. Trust that you're worthy of your own kindness. Trust that you deserve the same compassion you give to others. Trust that you are enough. You don't need to wait for permission to believe in yourself. You can give yourself that permission right now. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, the most jaw-dropping news isn't about what's coming. It's about what's already true. You matter. You always have.